Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Buckchester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we are talking about the book Defining Moments. Its author is Charmaine Gumbs, and you know what? I know that she is on fire to talk about her book. So you know what I'm going to tell you. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Charmaine. Thank you so much for being on Daily Spark today.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be here. Thank you for welcoming me.
Good. Now, before we talk about your book, I always ask my guests the same few questions at the very beginning, just to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes Charmaine Charmaine?
What makes me me? I think I'm special. I'm unique. I'm a one of a kind. I'm loving. And I think I have a lot to offer the world. I have a lot to say, and I think it's time for me to start sharing it.
Now, with everything that you have accomplished in your life, did you know that you were going to be an author at a young age, or was that just the next appropriate step for you?
I never thought about becoming an author or a writer. I just used to just write because I love writing, and I was good at it, and I always had something to say, so I would always put it on paper. Me becoming an author was because everyone was like, you need to share your work. It can help people. It can inspire people. And then I felt like I know what I'm writing, and I know what I have on paper, and I think it was about time for me to start sharing it with the world, so I decided to just put my books out.
Now, the title of your book, Defining Moments, did you find that the title came to you first and you wrote the book around the title, or did you simply start writing and the title kind of developed out of your writings?
I was writing, and I started accumulating a lot of poetry, and my kid's father was like, babe, you need to put your book out. You need to share this with the world. You have all these things to send, and people will benefit from it. So the book, all the poems was written, and I was like looking at them and reading it, and the title came after I put the book together.
Now, is there a particular meaning or a particular thing that inspired you? I mean, I totally understand that we have defining moments that are in our lives, but was there one thing in particular that made you decide that was going to be the title, or did you find that you've had very defining moments over time and that was just the logical conclusion?
I had a lot of moments in my life that defined me. I either accepted them, changed them, and most of the poems in the book was about moments in my life or someone else's life that it defined me at that present moment. So I felt like the title of the book should have been Defining Moments, because all the poems in the book was moments that defined me.
So would you say that your book is fiction or nonfiction? Is it a little autobiographical? What genre would you put your book in?
I would say mainly nonfiction, because most of the poems in there are nonfiction. One or two is probably fiction. So I would particularly say it's nonfiction.
So many times when I interview authors and they've written, especially poetry, that they put so much of their own emotion into the words that they've chosen to share with us, that there's kind of a backstory, if you will, that they were in this particular place or that particular place in their lives. Were you in a particular emotional place when you were writing the poems?
Yes, I was. My emotions were up and down, but mainly I was in a dark place because I was broken, and it took me a very long time to find a way to find myself again, and writing have always helped me to escape and for me, it's like a window for me to crawl out of. And when I went through that window and began to find myself, and that's what my writing does for me. It helps me to escape and find the piece that I need to help me to get out of what I'm in at the moment that I'm writing.
Well, what obstacles did you face while you were writing Defining Moments?
The obstacles I faced when I was writing, I would say dealing with whatever it was at the moment that I needed to write. And doubting myself that I can actually do the things I needed to help myself to get out of what I was in, and afraid to fail. Those were the obstacles I was facing. The biggest obstacle was myself.
Did you ever experience writer's block? Or let me ask a different question. Do you believe that writer's block exists? And did you ever experience what we commonly refer to as writer's block?
Yes, I believe writer's block exists, and I think I experienced it because after I put out the first book, Defining Moments, I started a second book, and I started writing it, and then I stopped, and it's been like maybe 5 years, and I haven't started to complete it. And then recently I just decided that it's time for me to finish this book and keep it going, keep pushing, keep writing, keep putting them out there. So I would say yes, I experienced writer's block.
Now, what made you decide that right now was the appropriate time to publish the book?
I've been coming across so many different people that was experiencing a lot of different things, and I already had so much poems in that book that would relate to them. And my kid's father was like, "Babes, you need to put your book out." So then I decided, well, it's time for me to publish my book. So that's how Defining Moments got published, because it was there for a while, and I didn't find the courage to publish it as yet. And then I decided, okay, it's time for it to come out.
Now, when you were writing, did you find that you needed to have a certain environment, a certain atmosphere? Like, did you need it to be quiet? Did you need to go off, into the room by yourself? So many times here in the States, the movies used to picture the person going off to a log cabin, off to themselves and just beating out the book in 2 weeks' time. What type of environment did you need in order to write and to be able to write at your best?
I particularly don't have an environment that I need to write. I write when something comes to my mind. At the time I was writing Defining Moments, I was working, I was going to school, I was working 2 jobs, I had the kids. So an environment didn't have, because I didn't really have a set time to write. I would write when I could, when I found the time, either on the bus, when I wasn't working, at the stoplight, something come to my mind. While I'm at work, I would try and scribble, and then I would just, when I found the time, then I'll sit together, and then I'll put everything together, and then I will write.
Now, did you or maybe I should ask it a different way. Would you suggest to someone who is an aspiring author then that they should always keep paper and pen with them, like a little notebook, a little journal with them, so that they can jot down those ideas, or make sure, that their phone is always charged so that they can put down those notes to themselves? Would that be beneficial to them?
Yes, it would. It would be. The writing on the paper, if they can, like for me, I would do writing with scraps of papers and pen, but then it depends on when the idea comes to me. Sometimes it comes to me like when I'm sleeping and I wake up and I'm writing, and then the next day it's like I have to try and decipher what I write. With the phone, it's better because then you could text it to yourself or put it in your notes or in your little writing pad. But I always tell people, it's good to get a tape recorder. So when the ideas come, you just record it and then you just go back to it.
Now, I know that that's something that one of the technique that my friend uses is that she just records, whatever needs to be said. So I have to agree with you on that as well. Now, for the person who is saying, you know, I want to be an author, be it that they want to write novels or write poetry or write plays for that matter, but they want to be a writer. Do you have any advice for them as far as just getting started? What should they do?
What should they do? I would suggest that they write about things that means a lot to them, like their passion or what inspires them. And when they write that it seems real because it's coming from them, deep inside them, that it's coming from their heart and not what they think it should sound like to everybody, but what they know is to be real to them.
I love that. You have to write what is real to you, not what you think somebody wants to hear. You know, I don't think that people actually know how important that bit of advice is. But we hear it all the time. People keep saying, just be yourself. People will say, you can call out a phony. You know when someone is faking. You know when they're making it up, when they don't know what the answer is or they don't know what they're doing. But yet and still, we still have to remind people to just be themselves and just, you know, share what you know. So thank you so much for reminding everyone of that. Now, speaking of inspiration, where does your inspiration come from when it comes time to writing, be that it was about this book or any of your other works?
My inspiration comes from my emotions, the moment that defines me, and my inspiration is basically my life. I pull all my inspiration from my life, the things I go through, the things I've been through, the things I would like to do. And that's where my inspiration comes from. It comes from my experiences.
Now, you are a certified surgical technician and medical assistant, and you live in St. Croix, US Virgin Islands. Someone may be saying, well, you know, I wonder if because of where you live, that has an influence on who you are. Do you believe that because you are an island person, that has affected who you are as a person? What I mean is that you're not the rat race of living someplace like Chicago or New York in that big city living, but you have more of a suburban feel to how you've grown up. Do you think that has influenced how you write?
Yes and no. I am an islander, and I would say that contributed to how I write based on how I was raised and my culture. But I've also lived in the States for like almost 15 years, so that too influenced my writing because I've lived there for 15 years. So I have a combination of both, living in the States and being in the Caribbean.
Now, do you think that, be it that you are in the medical field, that there's a certain amount of attention just due to your education and your training for your career path? You've been taught to pay attention to things in a particular way. Do you think that because of that, you pay attention to how you write in a particular way, that it's allowed you to see the importance of the words you choose in a different way?
Yes. Being in the medical field and having to pay attention to such details, it made me more observant than I was before, that I see things that people normally don't see or wouldn't see if I write based on what I see and how I feel.
It is so interesting that you say that, because I have found that for so many people, especially when they're in certain fields, and the medical field is one of them, is that it does seem like there's a certain amount of extra attention that's paid simply because of the education that you have. I love that. Well, Charmaine, it is time for us to go to break, but before we do, if you could please, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Okay, the title of my book is Defining Moments, and you can get in contact with me through my Facebook page, Charmaine Gumbs, and you can also reach me on my email, which is xlibris@hotmail.com. You can get a copy of my book from me. You can get it with Xlibris, that's xlibris.com, Amazon, and with Barnes & Noble.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
Hi everyone, Dr. Angela here. Did you know that Daily Spark is now on Facebook? That's right, you can visit with me at facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I want to know more about what you're thinking. I'd love to know which interview did you find the most entertaining or the most informative. I want to talk to you, and I want you to be able to talk to me. Simply visit facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Discovery. No, just a sec.
What would it look like if we listened more? Could the right voice, the right set of words, bring us all just a little closer? Get us to open up? Even push us further? It could, if we took the time to listen. The most inspiring minds, the most compelling stories. Download Audible and listen for a change.
What a crazy year it has been. Anyone out there feeling just a little bit lost right now? Well, no problem. Join me in learning how we can turn fear into confidence that creates cash. I'm a part of a series that helps everyone pivot during these times of uncertainty. Simply visit helpmepivot.com and access this free mastermind that includes not only myself, but international experts sharing their secrets on how to turn this time into a time of opportunity. Simply visit helpmepivot.com.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Charmaine Gumbs, and we're talking about her book, Defining Moments. We all have had defining moments in our lives that made us really decide what we wanted to do, which way we needed to go, shake off those bad habits, and start some new ones. So I think that everyone will definitely enjoy the conversation today. Well, Charmaine, my next question for you is, as a writer, and I know that this is a little bit different, but as a writer, what would you choose as your spirit animal if you had to choose one, and why? I think you have a story to share with us.
I would, if anybody that knows me that's listening, they would say a butterfly, if they really know me. And a butterfly because I find them to be free. I find me to be a butterfly, meaning that I can relate to the life of a butterfly. You know, I was born, I'm a caterpillar, and with all this stuff that I've been through in my life, I had to figure out how to overcome it and how to change it. So then I had to go through that change that the caterpillar goes through to then become the butterfly. So I can relate to a butterfly, and I find me to be a butterfly because I've been through so much changes, and in the end, the outcome was better. So I can relate to a butterfly, and that would be what I would choose, a butterfly.
And, you know, butterflies are so beautiful. You know, there is a sense of freedom that you feel when you see them, a sense of beauty and peace and freedom. I have never heard anyone say, "Oh my God, there's a butterfly." You know, like it's totally different from like a bee or a fly. You know, people will be like, "A bee," and run. A fly, it's like, ew, you know, and you want that to shoo it away because you wanted to get away. But a butterfly, I have never, maybe I'm wrong, maybe someone else has a story, but I have never, ever seen anyone say, "Oh my goodness, there's a butterfly, yuck." Instead, it seems like it's the other way around. you see a butterfly and you stop for a moment, just even if it's just a second or two, and you go, butterfly.
I see that.
I love that. That is such a great answer. Now, you have been through a lot of things, and you've kind of touched on that a little bit. How did you overcome some of the pain and the suffering of what you've been through? Now, I know you can't necessarily tell it all, but if you can give us an example of what's something that happened, and then what is the something you did to help yourself heal from the pain?
One of my main things I realized with me last year was that I had so much trust issues going on with me, and I had to figure out why. And I come to realization that I was carrying I overcome a lot, I survived a lot, but what I didn't do was let go. I had to learn to let go of the things that happened to me. So what I did was I started writing the people and telling them what I needed to tell them in order for me to let it go. So me writing to whoever about whatever, it gave me the outlet that I needed to let it go. I didn't want to escape it. I just needed to let it go. So that's where the writing came in. And I let go of all that pain that I carried for so many years. And then I'm becoming a better person. And that writing was me going through my change to become the butterfly that I am.
What a beautiful way to express that and to get that healing that you need, that closure that you need. Now, did you find that just in your lifetime in general, have you found that when you apologize to someone, or when you come to someone and you say, you know what, we had a thing that was going on there, it wasn't a good thing, let's move past that and let's heal from that, let's become friends again, or let's love each other like family, like we're supposed to? Do you find that when you do that with people that sometimes people are shocked? Are they ready to accept that? Are they happy that you made that suggestion? What's your understanding of it?
Anybody that knows me will tell you she don't do apologies. She don't accept them. And I think that was one of my problems, that I wasn't a person that want to hear, I'm sorry. People like to say sorry, but for me, it's, don't tell me you're sorry. Show me you're sorry. So I have to learn that. Well, and for me, it's like when I tell somebody I'm sorry, because I'm a person that really don't do apologies. And if I tell you I'm sorry, it's because I'm really sorry, and I will try not to say it again. I will try not to do it again. So now that I'm doing changes within myself, I realize that telling somebody sorry and hearing that I'm sorry is something that I needed to do and needed to accept. So that's one thing I needed to change with myself, is taking apologies and giving them.
If you could work with another writer, if there's another author or writer, they could be a playwright, someone who does poetry, someone who writes movies, it really doesn't matter. If the person is a writer in any way, shape, or form, who would that person be if you could collaborate with someone, or if you could just get some knowledge from them? Who would that be?
If I could collaborate with another writer, it would be Tyler Perry. I feel we have so much in common, and I have so much to say, and I believe together that we could create something so inspirational that we could reach millions of people around the world and inspire them. So that's who I would want to work with, Tyler Perry.
He is definitely a good choice. And, he is such an inspiration, I think, for so many people, in that, for the people who remember when he was just doing plays, and they weren't the big ticket items at first. Everyone has a very humble story. Everyone has that beginning of, trying to make it happen and believing in their dream and believing that this is what they have been purposed for and that this is the calling that God has placed on their lives. So I can definitely understand why you would choose him. Now, what would your emotion be knowing your book has inspired or it has helped to save the life of a reader, if someone shared that with you, how would you feel, do you think?
If someone was to share that with me, I would feel that what I set out to do, I accomplished it, which is for someone to see and feel that they're not alone, that someone's there and that they have overcome and they have triumphed and that they survive and that that person can and they will also survive. That they overcome it. That's what I would like to do, for my words to inspire somebody to see that they don't have to be where they are, that there's always the light at the end of the tunnel, that they need to see that vision and that you can get there.
That is so incredibly important. You are so right about that. And so many times I think that people do they become so discouraged and they just don't know what to do next. They don't know how to keep going on. And they really and truly do need for someone to be able to inspire them or encourage them to keep going and not to stop. So you are so right about that. I love that answer. Now, you kind of touched on the fact that you have some other books. So I have to ask, do you have how many unpublished books do you have, or do you have any unfinished works that you plan on getting out there and sharing with the rest of the world anytime soon?
I'm currently trying to finish my second poetry book, which is going to be called Reflections. And then I have I've been asked many times over and over for many years to write about my life, so I'm going to start working on that. I kind of have a title for it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go with that. I'm also currently working on a children's book, and I'm also working on I don't know what genre I will call that book yet, but it's about time spent with a loved one that passed away.
Ah, nice. Okay. And you know, I'm finding that with everything that's going on in the world, or, you know, that has gone on in the world, that we are all starting to kind of reassess the time that we spend with our loved ones. That before we were all so used to just go to work, come home, you know, eat, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, come home, eat, go to sleep, wake up. You know, that we were just all on that rat wheel, and it just became we became so complicit with life that it was boring, it was mundane, it was just you were just marking time and people weren't enjoying themselves. And I guess one of the good things that you can garner from the virus is that it has slowed people down. It has made people reevaluate themselves and spend more time with friends and family, if they're able to, and just go back to those more traditional values of spending time with folks. And
back to basic. My kids
right.
My kids are mommy, when ain't got no light, we'd have a lot more fun. Like when the power cuts off, they interact more with each other, because nowadays they can't play the TV, they can't play the game. So Connect Four, Taboo, Hide and Seek in the Dark. So it took them back to the basic, and because they didn't have the electronics now, they started to interact with each other, and then they started to spend more time with each other, and they get along a lot better that way too. So they were like, yeah, when the lights off, we spend more time.
Absolutely. But, you know, I'm also an optimistic type of person. I try to look for the silver lining in any situation, you know, not overlooking sometimes that there's, you know, concerns, worries, and cares, but always trying to see what positivity can we gain out, and that is definitely true. We have about a minute or so left in the show, so I want to just kind of open it up, Charmaine, for you to share any bits of wit and wisdom that you would like to share with our listening audience, be it that it's on you know, writing or in defining moments that happen in our lives. I open up the floor to you now.
I would just like to let the listeners know that one of the main reasons I started writing again, because I started writing at a young age, and I would write either because it was school or just for me to feel good about myself or just put something on paper. But what made me start this book was there was a point in my life that I felt like I lost myself, that I've been a mom, a daughter, a friend, a coworker, an employee for so long that after a while, Charmaine Gumbs didn't recognize Charmaine Gumbs. So the poem that I wrote was, Am I Who? Because I couldn't figure out who I was, and that started my writing again. That started defining moments, and I continued from there. And I would like the listeners to know that whatever you do, try not to lose yourself. Try not to lose yourself. Always stay true to you. Mm-hmm. And that's my advice for everybody.
I love it. Charmaine, before I let you go, if you could please, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
The name of my book is Defining Moments, and you can keep in contact with me through my Facebook page, Charmaine Gumbs, my email, which is chamuse@hotmail.com. You can get a copy of the book from me, also on Xlibris, XLIBRIS.com, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com.
Thank you again, Charmaine, for being a guest on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
And listeners, thank you as well for spending time with us this morning. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.